So welcome to another edition of Shelton City Council Looking Ahead with City Manager Mark Ziegler. And Mark, you got a business meeting on Tuesday night, and it's a pretty packed agenda.
Yeah.
Several presentations, and let's just start at the top. You have Overlook Park Eagle Scout Project. What's that?
Yeah. Okay. So the city of Shelton was approached by a Boy Scout that was seeking an Eagle Scout project and suggested placing a picnic table at Overlook Park, and we certainly agreed to that. So adds an amenity to that site that doesn't have very many amenities. So we recently constructed that table and installed it for public use. So this is just an opportunity to recognize that individual for the efforts that he put into an amenity in one of the city's parks. So take that opportunity for the project to thank him for his work and recognize him.
You also have a swearing in, and it says limited commission officers. What does that mean?
So limited commission officers are those that aren't law enforcement officers. So
Okay.
Limited commission officers in this case are our code enforcement officer and our animal control officer. Our animal control officer just completed the academy, so they received their certification in animal control to conduct investigations just last month in April. So we are going through the process of swearing them in at the council. It's mostly a ceremonial process, but certainly want to recognize these individuals for the important work that they do in the certifications that they carry to make Shelton a little bit community.
So you also have, well, the police department's annual report, annual thing, see how the police department is doing. I really actually wanted to ask you about the Transportation Benefit District and its annual report. What is that about? That's about the funds that are spent on roads. Is that right?
Yeah, essentially. So back in 2016, the approval of a 0.2% sales tax occurred to specifically benefit transportation projects in Shelton. We use those funds for local road paving and repairs, grant matches. You'll see next year the Olympic Highway North project kick off with a completely new surface on that project. We've used the funds for the Western Gateway project. You saw out Railroad from 8th Street out to 12th to Pacific Court. And those are funds that are collected locally, but they meet the match requirements that we often have for these different grants at the transportation project. So that can be transportation is broad. It's not just vehicle transportation, but it's pedestrian transportation as well. So we need to give an annual report on how much funds were collected, how the funds were expended, and what projects they were attributed to. So this is an opportunity to provide council and public more information on how those funds are spent and the benefits that it has to them. There's additional sales tax dollars.
Now that Transportation Benefit District, it has a sunset date. Is that right?
It does. It sunsets in April 26th. So it's a 10-year levy, can be extended another 10 years by state law. So that's certainly something the council has to consider probably in 2025, which direction they want to go. It raises about $700,000 a year, just over $700,000 a year. So it's a significant contribution to our street fund and those projects that are in the city of Shelton. So certainly would have a diminished capacity for some of the street projects this year. We look forward to late summer paving some of our gravel roads up in Capitol area with transportation benefit as well. So we'll certainly be talking about that next Tuesday, but also over the next year as a consideration extension of that tax levy for transportation benefits.
So that'll move me into the business agenda. You have several grant exceptions here. Want to talk about some of these projects?
Yeah, we continue to look for opportunities to modify and improve our wastewater treatment processes. So we have a grant acceptance for backup disinfection at the main plant on Fairmont. Again, we're seeking as many grant opportunities as we can to help offset the cost to the ratepayers and the residents. This will essentially make the money real with the state of Washington, and then we'll go forward with design and construction of the project. We also have up at the satellite plant up near the former fairgrounds in Sanderson Field. We're looking at some expansion for further processes to create more reclaimed water up there. And with the expansion, there's some wetlands that are within close proximity. So there's some really need to show those wetlands that have to starting construction.
On the agenda, you have council protocol manual, and it's an update.
Mhm.
Can you tell us about the manual and what its purpose?
Yeah, so it's kind of the guiding document for the city council. It covers everything from the roles and responsibilities of the council as electeds, how my office supports the council, the city attorney's support in their role with the council, but also talks about the council meetings and the agenda and setting the agenda process for that. So we conducted a council retreat back in March and discussed the protocol manual, made sure that there weren't any edits that the council might suggest or new rules and regulations that might come down from the state, legal opinions. And really, there's not too many changes other than we cleaned up it's coincidence. We cleaned up the process for appointing a new council member or filling a vacant council member seat. So we talked about that and just added more detail to the interview process. So it was more clear for staff and for council how we would conduct that process if the position became open. And ironically enough, a seat came open with Councilmember Schmidt's resignation. But also the council meetings themselves and the order of the council meeting. So we're moving the general public comment portion of the meeting earlier into the meeting prior to the consent agenda. It was conducted that way up to about 2 years ago, I believe. Council feels like they'd like to have at the beginning of the meeting to receive general public comment. We'll still have public comment for action agenda items. And then the consent agenda, which is kind of everyday business. The council approves vouchers for payroll or, general services, payments and accounting practices. So we've added a couple things to the consent agenda that they could approve, like budget items. They've already approved it within the annual budget. Say the purchase of a police vehicle, which is on the action agenda for Tuesday.
Right.
It's an efficiency. It's an increased efficiency move for council and staff because we've already gone through the public process within the budget. We'll certainly inform, develop a briefing like we do now, backup document for consent agenda, but it wouldn't necessarily be heard as an individual item on the agenda. Unless the council or a council member so chose, they can move an item from the consent agenda to the action agenda. So staff would make that communication and they can consider it as a specific item.
You mentioned it opening on the city council. Deadline's fast approaching. So you want to get your application in. Where are we in the process now?
So we're still taking applications. They're due by 1 p.m. Friday. May 3rd, so tomorrow. At that point, we'll review the applications, make sure that we have the necessary information and that the individuals meet the statutory requirements, and those are 1-year residency within the city of Shelton and registered voter in the city of Shelton. We will provide those to council for their review. If the the amount of applications, essentially dictate that, you know, there's a need to narrow those down to a manageable group to interview. And we'll do that on the 7th. If the group is certainly manageable to have interviews all on May 14th. We will certainly do all those interviews on May 14th with that group of individuals. And the council will consider the application interviews and hopefully take action again on the 14th of May. The council chamber starting at 6 p.m.
Okay. So get those applications in.
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Tuesday night in the city council, well, in the courtroom at the Civic Center for the council meeting. Attend in person, get on the Zoom, or you can watch it on the city's YouTube channel.